Hello and welcome to another edition of Perspective 254. My name is Agility Ekesa. It's official. Very soon tutaanza kurambwa by the new Ruto Finance Bill. When this Shakakola guy said the kurambwa expression a few months ago, I'm not sure he knew how much the expression would become relevant in our day-to-day lives as Kenyans. Lately, the expression kurambwa has come to represent our predicament as a people under the new Kenya Kwanza regime of Dr. Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua. So, how exactly are we getting rambwat this time around? The Court of Appeal finally overturned an order made last month suspending the implementation of the Finance Act 2023. This was after the Treasury Cabinet Secretary, Professor Njuguna Ndung'u, argued that the government was losing about $500 billion shillings on a daily basis as a result of the ban, as a result of the freeze. Now, let's just sit back for a second and consider that the government is losing about $500 billion shillings every single day as a result of the suspension. That's why I say $500 billion shillings. That's 500 million shillings a day, and that's a lot of money to be losing on a daily basis. The question though is, this money they're supposedly losing on a daily basis, where exactly is the money coming from? The money that the government is allegedly losing per day is basically coming from the populace. It's the Wanjikus and the border guys, the hustlers, and of course, the paisley folks. Poleni sana watu wa paisley. Anyway, in my opinion, I think the Treasury Cabinet Secretary, Professor Ndung'u, should have said the Wananchi are actually saving $500 billion shillings per day. Not the government losing money, it's the people saving money. The government is not losing any money. Instead, the mama boggers gets to keep a few extra shillings in their pocket at the end of the day. The little that they get to keep stretches a little further at the market. So instead of just buying one tomato, the mom boy can buy two tomatoes instead of one, 2 kgs of unga instead of only one. He can afford to buy some sugar. They can afford to have a slightly decent form of life. But no, that is not what the government wants for you. The government does not want that for you. The government is losing $500 billion shillings a day as a result of you affording an extra packet of unga. That is the argument. So I guess unto Caesar, we render unto him what is his. In their ruling, the three judges actually say taxation is a continuous and annual mechanism, and members of the public can get a refund of overpaid taxes and levies in subsequent tax payment. Basically, what they're saying is, if Zakayo finds out that he overtaxed you, then atakurudishia some of the money that you pay for taxes. The question is, anyone in here ever remember getting reimbursed by the government for overpaid taxes? Anyone? No? Okay. And what about the extra levies imposed on goods and services that we buy on a daily basis? Do we also get a refund on that or no? The 16% levy that's imposed on petroleum products means that the price of pretty much everything has gone up. So, how do we get a refund of that money? Do we get that back too or no? Well, we all knew that eventually Ruto and Kenya Kwanza would win this fight. It is the nature of our judicial system. It is the new order of things in our country. There was no way the judiciary was going to stand in the way of Kenya Kwanza government, hell-bent on milking us dry. We should have known that this was just a temporary reprieve for us, because usually the house will always win. But then again, sometimes it does not really hurt to hope, even if you're hoping against hope. To hope that somehow, someone somewhere will stand up for us, for the downtrodden. God bless Okiya Omtata, the people's watchman, also the senator from my county. Michael Jackson had a song with the lyrics that say, they don't care about us. I'm not sure if you guys remember that song. But anyways, he might as well have been talking about Kenya Kwanza and us. They don't really give a about us. It's all about them and their agenda and what they think is good for the country. Wewe na shida zako hizo ndogo ndogo kama no food and stuff, wewe kufa njaa pole pole. You know. It is not really their problem. Anyways, Senator Edwin Sifuna once put it so eloquently in relation to the Kenya Kwanzas guys thinking they know what's best for this country.
Senator Sifuna, you know, Sam, it is only dictators who believe they know what is best for everyone. That somehow, because they were elected, they are this genius who know where the country is supposed to be, what you're supposed to eat, who you're supposed to love, how many children you're supposed to have. We are not children, Osoro. We are not children. And the fact that you are elected, this election does not confer genius on anyone. In fact, many of us don't even understand what we are doing most of the time.
If you read Kenya Kwanza's manifesto during the run-up to last year's election, they claim to have a vision for this country if they won the election. And here is what that vision says. a peaceful and prosperous country where the poor will be empowered to get more money and land from the rich who have been enjoying financial freedom since independence. We aim for a high quality of life and economic inclusion for the marginalized hustlers. Yeah, right. Anyways, I digress. Back to the Finance Act. The lifting of the suspension means that the government can now proceed with its revenue collection as outlined in the Finance Act of 2023. This revenue, estimated to be around 211 billion shillings, in the current financial year, is crucial for the implementation of the 2023-2024 budget. Without it, the Kenya Kwanza administration would have to suspend some planned projects. Based on media reporting, the government now plans to apply the bill retrospectively to when it was officially signed into a law. A retrospective application here basically means that the taxman will still be entitled to collect the July shortfall in the next payroll in August, since the July 2023 payroll has already been processed by the time such orders were lifted. So, if you're thinking that maybe you got a month's break, saved some money while this thing was going through the court system, then I got some bad news for you, man. Ile pesa you thought you had saved, Zakayo wants it back. And kama you're just holding it for him until he was ready for it. And now, he's ready for his money. You have to pay up. The court lifting the orders amends provisions with a July 1st, 2023 effective date, such as introduction of a housing tax deduction at 1.5% of gross pay, matched by another 1.5% from the employer, will now be implemented and applied retrospectively. Lifting the orders means provisions with a July 1st, 2023 effective date, such as the introduction of a housing tax deduction at 1.5% gross pay, and this is matched by another 1.5% from the employer, that will now be implemented and applied retrospectively. People with a gross salary of 600,000 shillings per month will have their gross take-home pay reduced by close to 12,000 shillings. This will be due to the new tax rate of 32.5% as well as a 1.5% housing tax imposed on that salary. Kenyans who earn 800,000 shillings per month will see their take-home pay reduced from 565,000 to about 548,000 once the housing tax and the 35% rate is imposed. This new tax pattern will see some Kenyans part with almost as much as 40% of their income. The law also introduces additional taxes across various sectors, placing an even heavier burden on an already struggling population. The same folks that are already grappling with high inflation, high cost of living, raising debt, and declining service delivery. This law makes worse an already extractive and colonial-style taxation system, further squeezing the hardworking individuals who have been diligently paying their taxes while shouldering responsibility of caring for their families, relatives, friends, and colleagues. With measures such as increased VAT on petroleum products, withholding tax, housing tax for hustlers and employers, and various other taxes targeting everyday essentials and businesses, the Kenya Kwanza administration is literally trying to milk a dry cow. In explaining the reasons for lifting the ban, in a language that every mama boga and boda guy would understand, here is an excerpt from what the good justices at the High Court said, or Courts of Appeal. They said, this is in contrast to a blanket suspension of the law. Thirdly, the Appropriation Act, which was enacted on the back of the Finance Act, is in force and not under constitutional challenge. Finally, had the trial judge considered the substantial and irreversible public interest in the matter, the court would have hesitated to suspend the entire act. The upshot of our decision is that the application has merit, and the same is allowed as praised with the effect that the order was made on July 10, 2023, suspending the Finance Act 2023 and the order prohibiting the implementation of the Finance Act 2023 be and is hereby lifted pending the hearing and determination of the appeal. Did that make sense to you? Yes, no? Anybody understand it? Well, I gotta say, I think I speak pretty decent English myself, but none of that stuff made any sense to me. It did not. That's what they say though, that's their reasons. I'm sure this is all a legal mumbo jumbo, and as a layman, it is not meant to make sense to me. That's totally understandable. However, I just feel like if I am getting schooled in the you-know-where, shouldn't I at least be told why I'm getting in the language that I understand? At least niambie ni kwa nini you're doing that to me. In short, the mama bogas, the boda guys, the hustlers, the payslip people have absolutely no idea where the ban was lifted. We have no idea where we're getting at. What we all know for sure though is tunataka kurambwa sasa. Masaa ni ya kurambwa. Anyways, back to the Kenya Kwanza manifesto. It says nothing about increasing taxes. I have read the whole thing. It, however, says something about taking from the rich and giving to the poor in their mission. This is their mission statement. The mission statement says to realize the full potential of a hustler nation through a Marxist reorganization of society, taking from the rich and giving to the poor. That's what they claim they'll be doing, right? All right. What you are seeing, though, it is the exact opposite of that. They are all about taking from the poor and giving to the rich, the opposite of what they promised. With the already rich allocating themselves huge sums of government funds for very important things like buying luxury cars, it's very important. Come to think of it though, this would make sense given that the president is a very devout Christian. Matthew 25, chapter 29 says, "For whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken away from them." Can I get an amen? This act is not all bad though. There's one huge aspect of it that we should all be rejoicing about, especially the hustlers and the mama bloggers. There's something positive about the act. The new law actually slashes taxes on helicopters, aircraft, and rental income. There you go. The law now exempts importers of aircraft, especially choppers, from paying the 16% VAT, while also scrapping the 3.5% import declaration fee and the 2% railway development levy. There, if you're a hustler planning on buying a helicopter or an aircraft, the government has got your back. Hutalipa taxes kwa hiyo ndege. And that's some good news right there, right? While the tax proposals aim to optimize revenue collection, they could potentially stifle business growth, dampen innovation, increase consumer costs, intensify legal hurdles for taxpayers, and strain the state's budget altogether. More importantly though, this law places a heavy financial burden on an already overburdened common man. These are not just numbers on a spreadsheet, but are real policies that can affect real people, businesses, and the pulse of the economy. They have real consequences. So when you go to sleep tonight, remember one thing: elections do have consequences.